Lance Hall here for Let's Discuss with Lance Hall. Happy to welcome an old friend, Ron Keel, to the program today. How you doing, Ron?
Hello, Lance. I'm doing great, man. It's great to catch up with you, and it's been too long. Thanks for the opportunity to talk to Rock and Rock to talk with you one more time.
Talking just like a true DJ right there. I got to tell you got a new album coming out called South by South Dakota. It's coming out April 24th on High Vol Music. This is an album of covers, sort of stuff you guys did very organically as warm-ups, as you were getting ready to do whatever you were going to do in the studio that day. Your producer kept the tape rolling, of course, and let the magic flow.
Man, and that is so different than my usual approach to making a record. The last couple of albums that I've done, you've got this internal alarm clock that goes off, at least for me, and it says, it's time to make a record. It's time to do an album. And I did that with Metal Cowboy in 2014, and I did not have any songs written or ready in any shape or form, but I knew it was time. I've got to make an album. I've got to call it Metal Cowboy. So I sat down to write the album and went through 50 songs till I finally started getting some results and some songs that really captured my identity as the Metal Cowboy. The same thing happened a couple of years back when the Ron Keel band had really come into our own in terms of so many shows and touring experience and chemistry and bonding with the guys in my band. It was obviously time to make a record. So we set out to create an album, and we all got in the basement and we wrote songs and we rehearsed. The new album, South by South Dakota, came about in a totally different fashion. As you mentioned, as we were in the studio recording Fight Like a Band, we would warm up in the morning or wind down at night at the end of the session by just jamming some of our favorite Southern rock classics. And like you said, our producer Mike Dresch was recording the whole thing. After a few takes, I listened back and I go, man, we've got something really special here. And it was never intended to be an album, but man, what a great time to release new music. And I'm so thankful that we've got these great songs, these great recordings of some of these all-time favorite tunes in the can that we can share with our fans at times like these. This is tough music for tough times, and I'm really excited that we can at least, even though we can't get out there and tour right now, we can get this new album out there and entertain some people and give them some music to hopefully help them get through the day.
If it's a guy like me, you're taking me back to the days of my youth, so which is always good, good times back then. Now the music we're hearing is this like any of this polished up or anything, or is this just the way it was played in the studio those days?
Well, you try and polish it up, and each song happened in a different shape or form or fashion. Some of them, like the Allman Brothers cover, Ramblin' Man, the classic Allman Brothers song, that was first take. It was just like, roll, count us in, 1, 2, 3, 4, 10, and it was really natural and organic. Some of the tunes were part of our show, which we've been doing, a lot of bike events, a lot of county fairs, state fairs, festivals, where we're out there playing for 20, 30,000 people at a pop, and a lot of those people, they don't know who Ron Keel is, or they don't know my history. They just want to be entertained. So we'll mix in these Southern rock medleys. We've got a 12-minute Skinner medley or a 12-minute 38 special medley that we'll include in the show. And it's not like doing cover songs. It's like paying tribute to our favorite Southern rock icons. So those things have become part of the show throughout the course of the last 5 years. And to record them, some of them were just pretty much play it like we do live, and some of them were what I call Keelized, where we'll take a song like Fire on the Mountain, the old Marshall Tucker classic, and turn it into a Keel song or a Ron Keel band song by beefing up the guitars, adding some power chords, and adding some more grit to the vocal or whatever it takes to make that song our own. Like 2 songs on the record were previously recorded. Ghost Riders in the Sky, produced by Henry Paul from the Outlaws. That was our first single back in 2015 when we put this thing together and called it the Badlands House Band. That's a whole different story, but that song is obviously our signature first single. and had never appeared on an album before, as well as Homesick, which was our 2017 summer single, covering the Atlanta Rhythm Section song, and we cut that back in 2017 and released it. So those two songs were already in the can and have been included on the new album, as well as the live track, the Creedence Medley. It's where we'll go on stage, and this is a live recording from our very first gig ever, by the way.
Wow.
And just literally a 3-song tribute to CCR and John Fogerty, and we cranked out that live medley. So I thought it was really cool to be able to include all of those tracks from the last 5 years, plus the new songs we cut in the studio on the cuff, on the fly, without really thinking too much about it. And it gives it some kind of natural chemistry that there's a charm to it. The fact that we're not intending on making a record. We just wanted to make music, man. We just wanted to play and enjoy ourselves in the studio, and I think that shows through on the tracks.
It does. It definitely does. How did you hook up with Jasmine Cain for her vocal on Don't Misunderstand Me? She's fabulous.
Oh, she is amazing. Jasmine Cain is the rock and roll biker queen, and, it doesn't get more South Dakota than Jasmine Cain. She was born in Sturgis during the Sturgis bike rally. Wow. It doesn't get any more legit than that. No. And, when I thought we're doing an album of Southern rock covers, that one came a little later in the process because we wanted to include that Rossington Collins song. As you and many of our fans and listeners know, Rossington Collins was the first resurrection of Skynyrd after the plane crash, after that crisis, that disaster, that plane crash. Gary Rossington, Alan Collins, and company put that band together, and it was the first taste we got of, quote, new Skynyrd style music back in the late 70s. And I thought, we got to cut this song, and we did, and I did my vocal, and then I was trying to figure out who can I get to sing this female part. I've got a lot of great friends that are fantastic female vocalists and rock stars and entertainers, like Lita Ford, of course, is a good friend of mine, and Doro, actually, and Doro Pesch. We've talked about doing something together for years, and I thought maybe Doro could do this duet, but man, she's a metal queen. She's German. This needs an American female. That Jasmine Cain was perfect for it. We did a show in Sturgis last summer. We played at the Sturgis rally. It was Jasmine Cain and Ron Keeler band. And I invited Jasmine up to sing the tune with me. We rehearsed it backstage a little bit, and she still didn't quite know all the words or the phrasing, but she did amazing, and we got the chance to sing the song together on stage. And at that point, it was a no-brainer. Jasmine's got to cut this vocal. So I sent her the track. She put her voice down in Nashville, sent me her vocal track, and the rest is history. What a great duet for the South by South Dakota album. And Jasmine she's amazing, and I think the world of her, and I'm really proud to have her on that song and on this album with me. Yeah,
killer version. Now, I saw you had the first video outage for Red, White, and Blue, and we were talking just before we started recording here. You had worked a weekend on another video. Is this a video for another song, obviously?
No, this is Red, White, and Blue.
Red, White, and Blue.
We are filming that video this week for release as soon as possible. As soon as we can get this thing assembled and edited and cut together, it is a perfect song to launch the South by South Dakota album and introduce this music and this band to people who might not know who we're all about. That song is it's a Lynyrd Skynyrd song, but not one of the all-time vintage classics. It's not Gimme 3 Steps or Sweet Home Alabama. It's a Skynyrd song that probably didn't get the attention it deserved because it's one of their best of all time, one of my favorites. And I'm just really proud of the recording, the vocal, the approach that we took on this song. We did stay very faithful to the Skynyrd version. And at a time like this, when we're all going through the coronavirus pandemic and the lockdown and the uncertainty of what's going to happen tomorrow or next year.
And yes, we're back. I lost you there for a second. We were talking about the coronavirus, Ron.
And this new video for Red, White, and Blue. Because we have to film this video separately. All the guys in the band isolated in their own different locations. And that's one of the things that I miss the most right now is just hanging with my guys, being in the same room and writing and rehearsing and being able to film this new video. But like the rest of America and like the rest of the world, we're all isolated right now, but we stand united. And I think that this new video is going to show that dedication and the fact that we are resilient enough to come back after this and be stronger than ever. So that's what Red, White, and Blue is all about. I can't wait for everybody to check out the new video. We've got a big premiere coming in the next couple of weeks, and just really happy to be able to share this vision with the people out there that need some entertainment right now, that need to hear something and to see something that hopefully makes their day a little better. And that's what music and entertainment's all about.
Yeah, it's coming along at the most perfect time. I gotta ask you, you're a songwriter, singer, guitarist, author, DJ. Is there something you've always wanted to do, maybe on your bucket list, that you haven't done yet? I mean, I love that line in your bio, from the concrete jungles of arena rock to the dirt roads of country. I mean, and looking back over your career and everything you've done, is there something you haven't done that you've always said, man, I wish I had time to do this?
Man, I don't think so, Lance. I mean, I've done everything. I've had so many dreams come true. I've been able to perform and record and write and travel and experience the entertainment business from just about every facet. As you said, as a radio personality, as an author, as a songwriter, as a singer and performer, I've produced albums. I've started movies. Really, the only thing left on my bucket list is to enjoy each day to the best of my ability and to take care of the people I love, my wife, my kids, my loved ones, and my fans, and to try and give everything I can every day to every song, every performance, every effort that I put forth. I did cross the Australia tour off the bucket list, which was fantastic. Right before this COVID-19 pandemic came down, we just got back from Australia literally 7 to 10 days before the travel ban. Wow. We did the Australian tour, which was amazing. I'd never been there. The fans in Australia had waited a long time for me to show up, and we did show up in a big way. It did 5 shows, including the climactic Melodic Rock Festival gig in Melbourne, Australia, at the end of the tour. And so that was a huge bucket list thing. Yeah. There's the Canadian tour was another big goal of mine, and I haven't been to Canada to perform since 1985. We had a headline tour of Canada, confirmed, booked, and the ticket sales were incredible. And now it looks like, I don't know if we're going to postpone, cancel, whatever. That's not up to me, but there are no shows in that region until after September 1st. Our tour was in August. So I'm still looking forward to getting back to Canada and knocking that one off the bucket list. But, man, I've lived an amazing ride and had so many dreams come true. And I just want to write one more really good song or make one more person smile or put their fist in the air and sing along.
Yeah, because you were going to come out to, like, Eastern Canada, which is, like, my neck of the woods out here. I'm, like, a couple hours south of Montreal, so, yeah, I was kind of bumming about that as well, so. You talked about songwriting. You do a songwriting workshop through Patreon now too, and you were working on some other Patreon stuff when you took my call. Tell us about how that goes.
Well, thanks for mentioning that, Lance. My Patreon page is basically my home online, where I interact with my fans. It's my own personal social media at patreon.com/Ron Keel, where the Keelaholics pay $6.99 a month, which is 23 cents a day, for all this exclusive content, video, audio, backstage experiences, merch and merch discounts, just anything I could possibly give my inner circle. And we did these live online video chats every month where we'll all get together and kind of hang, like the Keelaholic Town Hall meeting, and I do songwriting courses, guitar sessions, whatever the fans want that I can give them. I do that online at patreon.com/Ron Keel.
Excellent. Ron, I got to ask you just a couple of quick questions here. You've been real patient with me today with everything. We've had a few phone problems. We're getting through it. Back in the day, I used to DJ high school dances and stuff. And, in the 80s, we were always looking to sneak in the metal tunes. How can we get a Motley Crue song on? How can we do this? And you always went for the ballad. So when you came out with Tears of Fire, we're like, we can play a Keel song now. We're going to play Tears of Fire. Can you give me a little bit of background on that song?
Dude, you're not telling me that you were a high school DJ at the school dance and you played Tears of Fire at the high school dance? Did that really happen?
Absolutely, man. I mean, we always went for the ballads.
Oh, man, that's a dream come true to have your song played at the high school dance. You know you've made it. What was the question? What's the background on that song?
Yeah.
Obviously, everybody back then had to have the power ballad, and that started with bands like Triumph and Journey, and what they called, I guess, in the late 70s, early 80s, they called it corporate rock. Yeah. Boston, I mean, whatever. The ballad has always been an important component, I believe, on any album or in any real big rock show. Even Kiss, I mean, their first huge hit single was what? Beth, right? Yeah. And so the ballad has always been, it's important to have one on every record, and Tears of Fire was that big hit for us back in 1986 off the Final Frontier album that really helped break the band in a big way in that year, and that was obviously a huge year for us with a world tour with Dio, and then our sold-out tour of Japan, and everything that we did in between that summer, 8 months solid on the road. And Tears of Fire fueled that tour, and it was a big song for us. It still is. We have a new version of Tears of Fire on last year's Fight Like a Band album from the Ron Keeler Band. We actually went in and redid the song, and this time I sung it right. And I know that most fans gravitate to the original. Nothing's ever going to be better than the original version, but I beg to differ. This version is way better than the original because I've had 35 years of practice, literally, to sing that song, and to keep it in my show every night for the last few decades. To get another shot at cutting that vocal and recording that song was really very special and important to me. So I highly recommend all the fans that grew up on that original version or maybe slow danced at the high school dance.
Oh, yeah.
Check out the new version to bring that song into the modern context. That's the Ron Keeler Band version of Tears of Fire, and you can find that on YouTube.
Very cool.
Just search Ron Keeler Band, Tears of Fire on YouTube. Check out the new version, and you got to admit, it's way better than that young guy who was singing it back in 1986. This guy knows what he's doing, and he's had a lot of practice.
I'll have to check it out. I mean, yeah, we played that right alongside with Alone Again by Dokken or Always Somewhere by the Scorpions, and we were throwing Tears of Fire,
Oh, yeah. Well, that's good company, man. Those are some classic ballads that you mentioned. To have my song even mentioned or played in that context is a huge honor.
Oh, appreciate it very much. We were happy to do it as our way of getting metal into the dances. The other quick question I got to ask for you, in your days now as a DJ, I've interviewed a fair amount of people, but I still, when I talk to somebody like you or somebody that I've had, bought the albums, had the posters on my wall and stuff like that, you still get goosebumps at times, when you hear, hey, this is Ron Keeler. Have you ever interviewed anybody that's like giving you total goosebumps? You've been, totally like, holy cow, I'm talking to this person.
Man, there's been a few, and I've been able to interview some of my heroes. I think Ted Nugent was one of those that I didn't have any time to prep because Ted was huge. I mean, for me growing up in the 70s and that Motor City Madman, I mean, he was legendary for me and big part of our hard rock upbringing in the 70s and 80s. So his publicist called in the morning and said, I got Ted for you. You want Ted? You can get him at noon. And this is just a couple of hours' notice.
Yeah.
So, of course, I said, hell yes, give me Ted. Got prepped as best I could, listened to his latest release, which was, I believe, a live album from 2014. This is a few years back.
Yeah.
But to have Ted on the show, and I had actually met him before in the studio in New York, but he didn't remember that. He came into the studio when we were doing Final Frontier. I had met him at that time. And we actually opened for him at one point. I don't think he remembered me from any of those instances, but to get him on the line and to talk to rock with Ted Nugent, that was huge for me. Guys like Pat Travers, who I had, waited in line to get a ticket at their show at the arena back in the 70s and 80s, to have Pat Travers on the show, and Ricky Medlock from Skinner, who's a big hero of mine.
Yeah.
Some of the big ones, though. Joe Elliott, who's sold 100 million records. Joe's been on the show twice, and for he and I, it's just like two old friends just hanging and talking, and there's no goosebumps, there's no pressure. It's just a really comfortable conversation. When you get a Hall of Famer like Joe Elliott, on the show, it's just huge. I have yet to, and even when I met Gene Simmons, I mean, Gene was, for me, Kiss was larger than life.
Yeah.
In so many ways. In 1978, 79, I was the kid in the front row getting Gene Simmons' blood on me and his spit on me, and I could feel the heat of the flames when he blew the fire. And then 7 years later, I'm in the studio with him, sitting side by side, recording the Right to Rock album, and there was never any of that with Gene. It was always just like, me and Gene, we're buddies, and I like to think that I can handle my own in any type of situation. In a meeting Roger Daltrey,
wow.
Dude, Roger Daltrey, this guy is the Mount Rushmore of rock vocalists and frontman, and I actually got to sing with him in Las Vegas. We did a song together. I was so nervous. I don't remember what song we did. Probably Won't Get Fooled Again or something like that.
Yeah.
And then after the song's over, we sat down, and for the first 5 minutes, I was speechless. And then all of a sudden, it was like two guys just talking about singing. He was telling me about his warm-ups and how it's getting tougher as he gets older, how he's got to stay fit and stay in shape and eat and drink the right things. Just talking about singing with Roger Daltrey, rock royalty, sitting there on at a table, just him and I exchanging that priceless moment.
Yeah. So
you try not to get too starstruck, at least until later, and somebody asks you about it in an interview. You go like I'm talking to Lance. Man, dude, I met Roger Daltrey. We talked about singing, and now I'm getting goosebumps, dude, just talking about it.
Yeah, good stuff. Good stuff. Chatting with Ron Keeler here for Let's Discuss with Lance Hall, the new album South by South Dakota, coming out April 24th on High Vol Music. Bill and Lori Chavis, great people to be working with, wouldn't you say?
Absolutely. Bill Chavis and Lori have been friends of mine now for 20 years. We have watched each other evolve and grow with the changes in the music and entertainment business, and stayed in touch, stayed friends, it was the perfect time for us to work together on this new record. Bill identifies with me, and I identify with him. We are really cut out from the same cloth, and I thought this was a perfect opportunity for us to get our relationship started with our new release on High Vol Music, South by South Dakota, coming out this week, and then another all-new original album on High Vol Music coming next year. So we're just getting started. We've got a long way to go, and we're going to keep recording, releasing, performing, writing music, and putting it out there for anybody who might want to be entertained by what I do. We're going to keep it coming for a long time to come.
Very, very cool. Ron, I always like to end my interviews with some fun questions. I'm hoping these are questions you've never been asked before. Sound good?
Let's do it. I'm fired up. I can't wait.
First car you bought with your own money?
First car I bought with my own money?
Yeah.
Wow. That's a good question. Because I've had a lot of cars. The first one I bought with my own money was probably the one I'm driving now. It's all the fans' money. It's not really my money. It's just the money the fans are loading me, right, to buy the new sports car. I've got a 4-wheel drive pickup truck in the garage that I'm really proud of now. But man, I think it was back in the '80s when I finally started making money from royalties and touring and so forth. I went back and didn't buy the same car, but it was the same model. It was a '72 Chevelle Malibu,
nice,
which was my first car. It was like a tank, man. It was the old muscle car thing.
Oh yeah.
And when I finally had some money to buy my own car, I went back to my roots and I bought a '72 Chevelle Malibu. It was orange. My original '72 Chevelle was silver and black.
Right.
I went from the Raiders to the Broncos. That was, I think, the first car that I actually, when I had enough money to buy my own rig, I went out and relived my childhood and bought the same damn car I bought when I was 16. My dad bought the car for me when I was 16.
Right.
So I bought my own, 10 years later.
Very cool. Favorite toppings for your pizza?
Everything, man. I like food on my pizza. You put anything on there. My wife and I do this all the time. We'll make pizzas at home, and we'll just, whatever's in the fridge, we'll pile it on. Mashed potatoes and pickles and onions and ham and meat. I like lots. I'm not one of those pepperoni and cheese guys, man. I want food on my pizza. The more, the better. Pile it on. I like the smorgasbord on my pizza tray.
All right. Given your choice of household chores, dishes or laundry?
Laundry. Absolutely. Laundry anytime, because you can put it in there and you don't have, you can wait, an hour, and then you put it in the dryer, and I love clean clothes. Of course, being on the road, being a touring musician,
right,
and sweating our asses off every night on the road, you certainly come to appreciate clean laundry. So I'll take that chore any day.
All right. Favorite toy growing up as a child?
G.I. Joe. Oh, the action figure, the 12-inch action figure, G.I. Joe, and I still have a collection of them downstairs in the basement to this day. The 1964, 65, American hero G.I. Joe toys. I was also into Hot Wheels. I love the cars, the Hot Wheels, the cars and all that, and just a little plastic army man, just a little cheap plastic army men that we used to set up in the yard and we blow them up with firecrackers. That was pretty cool.
I remember those. I had a bunch of those.
I started playing with guitars and drums at a very early age. My first guitar lesson when I was 6 years old. So the musical instruments really have always been my favorite toys, and they were when I was just a kid, and they still are to this day.
Sticking with your childhood for one more, if you could go back in time and have your mom cook one of her home-cooked meals from your youth, what would you have her make?
Wow. Yeah, that's a good question. I miss my mom, and I miss her cooking. Wow, that's a good question.
I told you these are going to be ones you've probably never been asked before.
Yeah, that's tough because I grew up in a really redneck hillbilly family, and they cooked all kinds of absolutely gross, disgusting crap like pig's feet. It was not. But I think my mom's cornbread. She had a cornbread recipe that we're still trying to recreate to this day. My daughter and my uncle, and we're all still trying to figure out what it was that my mom did with her cornbread that was so delicious, and I miss her a lot more than I miss her cooking. Let's put it that way.
All right, last one, and this is the one we have the most fun with, and I was asking this long before all the biopics came out. If they were to make a movie of your life, what actor would you have play you in the movie? And it's your movie, your life, you can pick anybody.
Nicolas Cage.
I can see that.
Yeah.
I can definitely.
Everybody's always been telling me, I don't get it, Lance, I don't get it, but everybody always tells me, man, you look like Nicolas Cage, or he looks like you, or whatever. And I've never met Nick, but I think that he would be a natural to portray Ron Keel in the movie. And I do have a couple of stunt doubles in mind as well, guys, that I will call, and if I need a stunt double, these people that they dress up like me on Halloween. It's like, it's Ron Keel. So, that's an honor just to even be considered. I don't think there'll ever be a biopic of Ron Keeler. I have mixed emotions about those movies. I really enjoyed the Queen flick, the Freddie Mercury movie. I did not see The Dirt, the Motley Crue film.
I read the book, but I haven't seen the flick.
Really?
Yeah.
Of course, it should be required viewing for guys like me who had our heyday back in the '80s.
Who lived it?
Motley Crue. But dude, I lived it. I was there at the time, and I know the factual discrepancies that movie, The Dirt, is famous for, and I just don't think I'd enjoy it. So I haven't really checked it out or tuned in. I haven't had that much free time. But at some point, I will watch that movie. I haven't seen the Elton John movie, but that's going to be the craze now. They're making biopics for everybody,
You could be next.
Well, we'll see about that. I'm just looking forward to seeing some of my heroes brought to life on the big screen, and to carry on that legacy and to keep that music and those characters alive for the next generation that may not be around to see some of those guys perform live, whether it's Dio or Judas Priest or I don't know who's the next big biopic, but I'm looking forward to having those movies around to preserve that culture and that generation for a long time to come.
Very cool. Last question, just to get us back to music. Say you have a youngster come up to you, a young man, a young lady, and they say, Mr. Keel, when I grow up, I really want to be, in rock and roll. Let's go with the ultimate. I want to be a rock and roll star. What advice would you give them to get them on their way?
Well, my philosophy is very simple, Lance. In that regard, you have to really want it, and those are the guys that make it. Not necessarily the guys that are the best singers or the best players or the best performers. Of course, you're going to get the exception to the rule, but most of the guys in any business, whether it's, no matter what your business is, if you want it more than anybody else, you have a better chance of achieving it. Yeah. So you have to really want it, and in my philosophy in terms of what I do, it's very simple. I do whatever I can, I do whatever it takes, and nothing's going to stop me. And at this point still, 40 plus years into it, I still feel that same way. I want it worse or more than anybody else wants it, and nothing's going to stop me. I'm going to create, entertain, perform, and keep doing what I was born to do, and the rest is out of my control. Whether people like it or enjoy it or buy it or whatever, that's out of my control, man. All I can do is be the best Ron Keel I could possibly be and stay true to my heart, true to who I am. And that kid, I would tell him, if you can quit, you will quit. Because this business will chew you up and spit you out. If you can quit, go ahead and quit.
Right.
If you can't stop, keep going. That's simple.
All right, sound advice from Ron Keel. Once again, the new album South by South Dakota coming out this coming Friday, April 24th on High Vol Music. You can get it available everywhere. Ron, I just want to thank you very, very much for the time you've taken today. This has taken far longer than we originally were gonna. Obviously the problems were on my end, on my phone, and I just thank you very much for your patience.
No, it's cool, Lance. It's been a few years since we spoke, and I was really looking forward to reconnecting with you and your audience, and hopefully everybody will find me online at ronkeel.com. That's my one-stop shop for social media, my music, merch, memorabilia products. Everything I do goes through ronkeel.com. And once again, Lance, I can't thank you enough for your support and for having me on the show, and I look forward to speaking to you again. Let's not make it another 3 or 4 years before we talk and catch up again.
Sounds good, Ron. Take care of yourself. Enjoy the rest of your day. Thank you once again so much for your time.
Thank you, man. Right on.
Bye-bye.